Hey, hi everybody. Pat here from VintageMagic.com. I'm here with Rudy from Alpha Investments, and you may know Rudy from his very popular YouTube channel and from his very popular Patreon. And he's here to talk tonight about magic and investing. And so, thank you so much, Rudy, for joining us.
The pleasure is mine, Patrick. Let's see what kind of damage we can do.
All right, sounds good. So you talk a little bit in your YouTube video introduction, but can you tell me the story a little bit about how you got into magic?
The first time I was introduced to magic was probably about middle school. This was about 1990, I would say about 1994 range when I actually was introduced to it when a revised edition came out. And I had never heard of it. I was into Marvel cards, X-Men, Flair,
Yep.
and the just basic stuff. I never heard of a trading card game. I thought that was something new and interesting. So that's when I first picked it up, and probably around 94. Stayed with it from 94 to, I'd probably say all the way to 2001, maybe about senior year of high school. Went to college, dropped out from the magic world for a few years, and then ended up getting back into it. And then here we are, stayed with it ever since. So for the most part, I would say out of 23 years Magic's been around, I would say probably been doing Magic for probably about 18 of the 23 years, quite a bit.
Yeah, so you're somebody who's obviously had a very long history with the game.
Yeah, so I mean, most people didn't start as early as I did, or if they did, they sold their collection.
Yep.
And they regretted it. And I'm one of the few that even when I got in and out of it, I never sold anything because I'm just one of those hoarding type of people. I like to hoard everything. I still got Pogs and Beanie Babies too.
Nice,
So,
nice.
yeah,
So
so that's it's been a long time.
nice. So when did you add collecting to your repertoire?
Oh, that was way later. I mean, I'm sure you know, Pat. I mean, Magic was not even deemed. I mean, people didn't use card sleeves. Nobody
Yeah.
cared. I mean, I had my deck with, I had about 16 revised dual lands with, 4 Shivans, 4 Sarah Angels, and I kept it in my pocket,
Yeah.
in middle school. And then I threw in my backpack, and there was no card sleeves, there's no deck boxes.
Yep.
So I would probably say, I'd probably say around the Urza's time. I think maybe Urza's era, kind of late 90s maybe. I think the collectability and the sleeves and boxes, everything kind of started to shift.
Yep.
And even then, compared to today's standards, that was not collecting as people talk today. I mean, that was just, in other words, putting a sleeve on the cards.
Yeah.
That wasn't even deemed as really collecting.
Yeah.
So I would say around, I'd say probably 6-7 years after I started when I actually looked at it as a collectible. And then I would say probably 2004 is when I actually realized that it was a game, a collectible. 2004, that's an investment. So that would be the line in the sand. 04 was me, and when Daniel Chang and many others started talking on the dawn of a lot of message boards. And I remember him and me and some others talking about grading Magic cards. And a lot of questions were being asked by PSA because, there was no BGS at the time. And, there was a lot of tips on alpha cards with the corners, with the little flipped corners. And, it was, at that time, it was just born. It was so new.
Yeah.
There was no market for it. Nobody knew how to price them. I mean, some of the graded cards were selling cheaper than raw cards because nobody wanted it. It was in a plastic case.
Huh, interesting.
So it was a weird time, but I would say definitely started in 94. 99 was a collectible. 2004 became an investment.
Interesting. And then fast forward to today, and it's like totally exploded.
Yeah, this is 2000, almost 17. 2000.
Yep.
I'm getting old, man. Telling you. And now it's a worldwide, thing. I don't even know how to explain it anymore. I really don't. I don't even have any words to explain what Magic is today. It's like a lifestyle. It's like a cultural icon. It's like the original Nintendo, but for cards,
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
That's a good comparison.
Yeah, I mean, that's my analogy for it. I mean, it's just something it's such a deep cultural thing. I mean, the iceberg is so deep, you can't even comprehend it. Like when someone's never heard of Magic, and they're like, well, Rudy, what's Magic? Explain it to us. And I'm like, oh man, it's you have
Where to begin?
walk away. It's too much. So that's my opinion. That's my opinion. So.
Yeah. So where do you think Magic collecting falls on the investment spectrum? Like, how does it fit into maybe traditional investing, like IRAs or 401ks, things like that?
It's something that people need to. It's an alternative. It's not a replacement.
Mm.
It's kind of a component. It's a complement to it. It's not. See, that's where a lot of people get it wrong. They're like, oh, my 401k is terrible. My IRA's done okay now that the market is stabilized, but maybe I should dump it all and do what Rudy did and just do that. Well, number one, you can't duplicate what I did because what I did was first to market from 10 years ago.
Yep.
You can't duplicate the first 10 years of Magic growth to today, the next 10 years. It's just not going to be there. And you can't get rid of retirement accounts. It's something to add in addition, not in replace of.
Yeah.
So it's something I feel that, if you have $100,000, I think Magic is a nice 10, 20,000. I mean, 20% at the most, and I think that's pushing it. That's my opinion.
I gotcha.
So that's kind of how I look at it. A lot of people, I think, just mix those lines. They blur them very heavily.
Whereas diversification is important.
It is, and even within Magic, you don't just buy all Black Lotuses. You don't buy all, sealed product. But as far as buying new stuff, I think new items for investing is a very big no-no, hands down. New stuff is not. Any single card must be old or reserved list or extremely rare or a specialty. Portal 3 Kingdoms. It must be something special. Besides that, it has to be a sealed product pre-Return to Ravnica, period. That's my opinion.
Yeah. And you evaluate a lot of that stuff on your channel. I mean, you evaluate
a lot.
Like alpha graded stuff all the way up to like new specialty products like Commander, things like that. What are some of the pros and cons of each?
New stuff, there's a lot more liquidity. You have a massive market. So the price is very fluid. A $110 item, as it moves, will go up to 112, 113. It's very smooth when it moves. Old stuff, since they don't show up very often, you can have $1,000 card that no one has sold, and then 5 years later, one pops up, and the $1,000 card is 10,000, and it just goes from here to there. You have a big gap. You have large variances. You have very large spreads in the industry, and of course, you have very little liquidity. So the new stuff is liquid and smooth. The old stuff is very choppy, but it's very huge jumps, and those big jumps make a lot of people nervous. And if you want to sell 2 or 3 Black Lotuses, it's not exactly something you can just click a few buttons on, E-Trade and get your money.
Yep.
So, and a lot of people don't have the means to buy and sell, or they don't have a big eBay account, or they're nervous about fraud. So, there's a lot of other things that people need to consider of, how they can buy, how can they move the product, how can they collect it. I don't think there's a perfect answer of whether you should buy new or old. It's just something I think you should do both. But with the new stuff, it has to be sealed product, and it has to be pre-Return to Ravnica, excluding maybe cons and origins. That's it. Anything besides that, I mean, I've had some numbers and some, numbers I was told to not disclose and things as far as print runs and some newer things of information that probably should not have been told. But, I can tell you on some of the newer sets, for example, there's estimated to be like a 600 to 700,000 booster box print run, for example, all the way up to almost 1 million booster boxes.
Huge.
I can't even comprehend that. I can't even, how can you tell someone to invest in something if there's 1 million booster boxes?
Yep.
Like it's never going to go up.
Yep.
And then they keep reprinting anything that goes up in value, so you're going to suppress the internal value. And then the sealed product, there's so much supply. I mean, you've got things going against you from every direction. It's not healthy to go for that. You need to be very cautious. And, there's a lot of people that still like to buy one box of every set type of approach.
Yep.
It's a very common thing. I like to buy a case of every set that comes out. That's very normal. But it's just, I don't hold your breath. I think everything will go up, but it's not worth buying Kaladesh, and to make money, you have to wait 30 years,
Yeah.
It's just not worth it. That's kind of my opinion. So that's all I got with that.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned the reprint thing, because Wizards recently announced that they're going to do a reprint of Eternal Masters, I believe, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So, does that change the consumer confidence of Magic and the
it's
direction of how
crushed
investors?
it. It's crushed it.
Yeah.
The prices. I mean, right now, literally, I think as of this filming this video, eBay has Eternal Master boxes shipped for 170. I mean, that's once a month eBay runs the 10% promo
Yep.
on cash back. I mean, you can get Eternal Master boxes on eBay for literally 157 to your door. That's, I mean, distributors charge 140. Wizards charges 130. I mean, you can open the boxes on a large scale, and your overall average is going to be higher than 150 bucks. I mean, it's insane that the market is so skittish and so disoriented that it would sell a limited sealed product for literally, it's the only box right now in Magic history that is selling sealed and is actually worth more if you actually open it. And that is extremely, I mean, literally in 23 years of Magic, I've never seen that. Never seen it. I mean, I opened, I think, like 15 Eternal Master boxes. I think recently, I don't remember when it was, when they first started getting more in. And, the best box was worth like 400, and the worst box was worth like 100. The average value was literally like 198, I think I calculated. And a regular person could buy them and make money.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just, it's not supposed to be that way. Vintage boxes, when you open them, you're supposed to lose 30 to 50%. So I don't think it'll stay that way. I really don't. So, yeah.
What do you think? What do you think Wizards is doing well, and what do you think they need to improve on? I mean, I think we kind of touched on one of those maybe a little bit.
Well, they have the cards, the engineering, the mechanics, the art. Those items are all great. They're knocking them out of the park. As far as print quality has been pretty bad lately. A lot of defects, light cards, too dark, off-centering, smeared cards. There's been a lot of things like that, damage out of the boxes we've noticed from large-scale opening. Besides that, it's just their PR is a joke. They need to work on their public relations. The way they release notices with typos and errors, they have no transparency to the public. It's like Wall Street. If you are reporting quarterly earnings and you're not transparent, Wall Street will pound your stock. They will penalize you. And Wizards needs to take the approach of letting people know what's going on. They need to be very clear so that the people in the secondary market are confident to buy, because people are so scared nobody is buying. There are so many people right now that email me saying, Rudy, I have a laundry list of cards to buy, and we're not touching anything because we're concerned about Modern Masters 2017 now. We don't know what's going to hit the chopping block. We don't know how many waves of Eternal Masters. What if there's millions of Eternal Master boxes? There's so much there's so much fear. It's just crippled the system. So to your question, transparency. They need to be transparent. They need to reduce the print runs, which word on the street, for example, Commander 2016 has been out for 45 days or 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
Word on the street is they already ended production. Haven't made a video yet, but if that does come true, I think there's a sign that they are actually changing, but that's pending. Just want to lay that out there, though, on the topic of them making decisions, because that'd be the first time they've cut printing in a long time, and it may be happening. They may be actually seeing that, which, fingers crossed, we'll see. But that's my opinion.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I want to pivot just a little bit. In addition to talking about investing in products like boxes and graded cards, what are your thoughts on investing in original Magic art?
I do not personally touch the art.
Mm-hmm.
I like it, but it's not for me. I don't like the market cap is too small. The number of people who want it is too narrow. The little niche market is too. I need a bigger market cap for me to want to get into it. It's just not for me. The fact that it's also extremely, art is very personal. Yeah. It's a one of one. It's a personal thing. It's very subjective. I mean, You can ask 100 people, and you'll get a different answer from all 100 people. And to me, I don't like something I can't get a finite value on something. That's something that always I need very firm numbers. I need a very this stock is trading for this. This bond is worth this. On eBay, a PSA 10 unlimited Lotus sold for 7,500. It's worth 7,500.
Yeah.
When it's a one of one, it's a narrow market. There's not millions of people that want the art. It's not for me. I think it's cool. I do know people that are big fans of it, but it's not for me.
Sure. You feel the same way about artist proofs as well?
Artist proofs, I feel a little different. That's something I just don't like, period.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I don't like it, period, because they're easier to counterfeit because of the lack of backing and the way to produce them. In addition to that, it has the smallest market size of people who actually are willing to collect them. And it reminds me of the collector's edition and the international edition for Alpha Beta. They're neat. I've owned a few boxed little sets, sealed and open, but it's just, in a card sleeve, they're nice, but I mean, overall, they're never going to be worth, $1 million set. It's just, it is what it is.
Sure.
And people tamper with them too. People do. I've seen it. People split them. People have rebacked them. People have tried to redo them. I mean, those are very vulnerable items that I just don't like. It's not for me. I don't touch it. But again, just like the artwork and the paintings, there are people who buy them a lot. And there are a lot of people that will drop big money, but not for me.
Sure.
I look at how many buyers are out there for certain things, and it's just some of those niche markets, man, it's too tiny. It's too tiny for me. So that's my opinion on it. About the same answer.
Yeah. Well, it's like you said, art is so personal. Everybody gets something out of it, or something different.
Yeah. Exactly. And it's very difficult to evaluate that. I'm a huge paintings. I have paintings everywhere. I'm sure you've seen some of the videos and artwork and things, but, I like them, but, it's just to evaluate something that there's only one and to try to determine who sets that price and is it just worth what people will bid against on eBay? Well, what if the one person you bid against doesn't want it next time? And you're the only two people who bid it from 5,000 to 30,000. So then, if you remove that other person, it ends up ending at $4,000. You run into weird eBay price. I've seen that before in rare things on eBay, where an item is sold for 10 grand because two people pushed from 2,000 to 10,000. Or if you remove that one person,
just fighting over it.
Yep. And in the reality, it's only worth 2,000 or 3,000. So, and that to me reminds me of artwork, and it bothers me. I get anxiety. I need finite, man. I need firm numbers.
I gotcha.
Yep. So, just saying.
Got it. I totally understand. So, why do you think people are connecting so much with your channel and your Patreon and the investment advice that you're giving?
I don't really know. I didn't see it coming. I didn't plan for it. I didn't, have the camera, the backdrop. I didn't have anything, I just took my office and just set up a $20 China tripod and used my cell phone, started doing some videos. And, I've only been on YouTube for like 6 months maybe. And even then, one of the 6 months I was suspended for a month. So, I mean, nothing even happened.
Yeah.
And, it's just, I didn't anticipate it. I actually thought the argument was when I made the videos on YouTube, there was going to be a lot of anger towards me as this is the guy who's responsible for making things rare and expensive. And the channel would kind of get suppressed or a lot of just get attacked. That's what I actually thought was going to happen. I didn't think it would get over 1,000 subscribers, honestly.
But
so
some people are connecting, I think, with your passion. And
maybe, yeah. And that could be it. I mean, it could just be the fact that you have a guy on YouTube. I mean, everybody who watches YouTube, you can tell when somebody's truly passionate. You can tell when you go to a magic video on someone's channel and you're watching them open a booster pack and you can tell they just don't really know what the hell they're looking at. You can tell they don't truly know the cards. They don't have that feel. I mean, human beings have the ability of instinct and they can tell. You watch after 2, 3, 4 of my videos, everybody knows this guy is crazy. He may be trying to manipulate the market, but he does know what he's talking about. So I just didn't expect it. I mean, I'll be honest, Pat. I didn't expect it. That's why I don't really have a good answer. I mean, to me, I mean, when I still film the videos, I still film it as if like 5 people watch it. You know, I don't really think about it. And my video, the average views now on my video, I'm averaging, like, on the low side would be 15,000. That would be a bad video, and a successful would be 100,000 views now. I mean, that's insane to me. I don't even know 50 people locally. So I mean, it's just I don't know. I'm just speechless on it. I don't. Everybody always asks, what's it like to kind of have a channel that actually does grow so and continuing. I mean, today it broke 32,000 subscribers, and just today. And you know, to me, it's very surreal. I haven't really changed anything. I don't really plan on changing very much because I just feel like a regular person. You know, it's not really. I don't know. I don't feel special or that I did anything to deserve it. Maybe you know. I don't know.
I think if you just continue to be yourself, then you'll.
Maybe.
You know,
Maybe
if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna stay the course. You know, I mean, I don't edit any videos. Everybody's like, this guy doesn't even edit the video. He doesn't even do anything. He clicks the camera on, he uploads it, and he moves on. You know, and I don't even.
Simple and easy.
Yeah, and I do that. And it started that way because number one, I didn't have the time to edit, and two, I wasn't familiar. I could do basic editing, just chopping and merging, but you know, I didn't have the time to do it. I didn't want to learn. I didn't want to put the time into it. And I was just like, all right, when I film a video, I got to do it once. I got to do it right. And that's it, because I don't want to put the time. And that's what all the work is, editing videos and merging effects, putting pictures and layovers in the corner. That's what takes all the time. And I don't have the time to do it. So I didn't really have a choice. It had to work. I had to be able to turn it on. And I had to do everything in one shot. And honestly, most videos are done in one shot. I'll be honest.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Nice.
I think I've only, out of like 120 videos I've done, I think maybe 3 or 4 of them took 2 times.
Bravo.
Yeah, so some of it's luck.
If a collector came to you today with, say, $1,000 and said, I want to invest this in Magic, what do you think your advice would be?
The first thing I would do is the same thing I did like when I worked at a brokerage firm and I was handling other people's money. I wouldn't even give a single point of advice, especially if it was only $1,000, not to make it sound like that's nothing, which to a lot of people, $1,000 is still a lot of money, which it is. But, you know, I would counter that question immediately to, you need to tell me what your situation is. You need to tell me what are you doing? Are you working? Are you in school? Do you have a house? Are you paying rent? Do you have car payments? Are you in debt? Do you have student loans? What's your situation? What's your bills? I mean, you know, if you're living in an apartment and they're raising your rent every year and your income is volatile because you're on commission or you work in a restaurant or you're in college and you're picking up shifts, you know, you have no business tying up what little capital you have into something that if you sell early, you're going to lose from fees and shipping, you know, versus somebody else who comes to me and says, well, Rudy, I have $1,000. What should I do? And I say, well, what's the rest of your life like? And you say, well, I have a house it's paid for, or, you know, my income is 3 times the amount of my house payment. My car is paid for. You know, my boyfriend, girlfriend has a job too. I'm very stable. I have no debt. Okay, well, then you know what? Maybe it's time to do it. And I think that's the better piece of advice versus the actual what to buy. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Be smart.
And that was something they drilled into us when we were required to get licensed for brokerage companies in Wall Street, where it's not the advice on the investment, it's the advice on the person. That's where you run into the legal problems, not the investment advice. And they were very strict on us. So that's all I do is move that over into Magic. That's all I did.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What do you think it means to be a Magic collector today?
I think that's somebody who actually was playing the game for a while, maybe at least a year, and they kind of transitioned over and they've been through a few sets, a few blocks, a few rotations, and they actually kind of they start actually appreciating and noticing the changes and the little things. They have actually more of a connection to the cards. And I think it kind of binds the person. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
because I don't know how long you've played Magic, Pat, or I don't know what your story is,
Mhm.
but
My story is
yeah,
actually kind of similar to yours. I
okay,
played, yeah, I played when I was a kid, back in like revised fourth edition, Ice Age, Fallen Empires. Got out of it for a really long time, and then came back to it, like in 2012. And I just happened to read an article. It was a set review of the core set, and I was like, man, I loved Magic back in the day. Why did I ever get out of it? Well, that
yep,
was really before the internet, and once you exhausted like your siblings and your like little group of friends, and you had nobody to play with, that was it. You really didn't have a way to connect with other players. So yeah, so I had a really big gap too. So, but and I can totally see what you're talking about in terms of somebody who's a player and then comes to appreciate it, whether it's the design of the game or
yep.
the artwork or whatever whatever aspect of the property that they have come to love.
Yeah, I mean that, and people really, once you connect people with Magic, once people play Magic for I think at least like a year,
Yeah.
I think they're hooked for life. Like they come and they go, but it's in their blood. It kind of, once they have that one-time connection, it seems like over everyone's lifetime they keep running into Magic, even when they leave it. It's like you run into it again, or you
Mhm.
see it again, and
Yep.
and I think that's when a lot of people come back the second time is when they start kind of trying to go back to the stuff they missed and go back to the cards they sold. And I think that's when you start creating that collector. And then, of course, all of us are getting older. We have real jobs now,
Yep. Yep.
from high school, college. So we're going back to all these things we remember. We're going back to, we're buying old cards that we all remember when we were younger.
Yep.
We're going back and buying. I don't know why I have. I have. You're buying all this old stuff that, you know,
Yeah.
you're going back, and I have this crap just laying around on the tables,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's just one of those things where you go back and you have the money, you always wanted it, or you used to have it, and I think it triggers something psychologically. I really do,
Yeah.
and everybody I know who's buying or collecting, I mean, nobody sells it. Like once these people become collectors, and they buy their Arabian Nights, their revised dual lands, their alpha beta, they never sell anything
Yep.
ever. Like you go on eBay, type in BGS 95 or BGS 10 or PSA 10, and the amount of PSA 10s for sale on eBay is literally like one or two. And it's probably someone who just puts it up there like me for some stupid price to get, clicks and views. I mean, they don't really change hands. They don't, and I think that shows the strength of that collector's market. I think it shows the strength of the ability for Magic to hold people. And I think that'll take it a really long way. I don't think most people quite appreciate and they put enough value on that because it's very strong. Where comic books, and that was one of the things from the baseball card era, the Crash and the Beanie Babies, the Pogs, all these things. I mean, there was no connection to the people. When people had 1,000 Beanie Babies, and it turns out they weren't rare because there were warehouses of millions. There was no card game with the Beanie Babies. You just
Yeah.
put them on a table.
And who cares? Yeah.
Yeah, who cares? And then there's millions of each one, and everybody was like, "Well, I already have it. I don't need it." And there's millions, and the whole market crumbled because everybody realized they're just not worth anything. There's nothing there. Magic was actually artwork that was created. It has mechanics that actually do something. It's a game that people gamble, people to put money on. There's a lot of black market gambling in Magic and a lot of tournaments in, kind of poker style tournaments and gambling and money that is in Magic that people don't talk about. It's not Wizards of the Coast friendly PR. There's a lot of things that do go on. And I'm not sure how familiar a lot of people are with, I don't know, secret societies.
Mm.
I don't know. There's a lot of these things that do go on. I've seen websites and I've had people on YouTube and Patreon link me to, there's a group in Europe or Switzerland that actually does like every Friday or Saturday, it's $200 or $300 per person to play a tournament, and the winner gets like 10 grand.
Jeez.
And it's like a normal Friday thing. That's just, I mean, it's like hardcore.
That's crazy.
And this is a new standard. We're talking vintage and legacy, and and that's my point. but nobody talks about it.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, "Oh, vintage is dead, legacy is dead. It's too expensive. The counterfeits will ruin it." I've heard it all. And here we are, 23 years later. That's my opinion. So I think it's going to continue, and I hate to say it, 20 years from now, I don't think we've seen anything yet. I really do, Pat. I think the next 20 years, people are going to be begging for today's prices. Begging. Not on the new stuff, on the old stuff. The original 90s stuff, Urzas and back, people are going to be begging for that. People are going to wish an Urza Saga box was $1,000. They're going to think that's cheap. They're going to think a Black Lotus. I mean, an unlimited PSA 10 Lotus is $7 or $8 grand. That's completely underpriced. There's no way. Just the prices on some cards, even today, people can get unlimited, mint condition boxes for $1,000, $1,100, and I'm like, those cards are severely underpriced. The alpha beta already caught up. The alpha cards have already, alpha cards now are just ridiculous. They finally caught up to their actual rarity. Beta has lagged. Unlimited is just recently, in the last, probably just 2016, has started seeing the movements, like Demonic Tutor, Wheel of Fortune. These were unlimited and revised cards that were $5 a piece. Now they're going to 20, 30, 40. I think Wheel of Fortune this year alone went from like $8 to like 58, up 1,000%, stuff like that. So there are cards that are actually waking up, per se.
Yeah.
I think we haven't seen anything yet. That's my conclusion. This is the beginning still.
And that's a good way to close out. So
yeah, I think that's a good way to close that, because like I said, I just think it's the beginning. People, it's all relative, man. Everything's been around for 50 years, 100 years. Magic's 23 years old. It's still the youngest hobby, and I think people lose sight of that. So that's my opinion.
The brave new world. I don't know the years we're going into. It's going to be
it
is. Be something.
It is. I don't think Magic's going to die. I don't think investing in Magic is dead. I think it's shifted. The easy money, the low hanging fruit, that's all done. Everybody, I think especially with the reserve list buyouts this year. And I think, honestly, the fact of my YouTube channel alone and some other, I think, has influenced the market and has really made a lot of people realize, wow, I can invest in reserve list cards that are guaranteed to just only go up. I think the market finally saw that this year.
Yep. With
the Martin Shkreli, the Craig, the Moat, the Lion's Eye, these big buyouts and the things that happened. And, it was just a matter of time. It was going to happen.
Yeah.
It's just, it happened all at once, and everybody just went, crazy over it because, and now most of those old stuff, they're not going back down. The prices are holding.
Yep.
So it kind of shows that it was just meant to be. It was going to happen. And I think it's still, I'm telling you, first inning. I'm telling you, we're still in it.
It's crazy, man. Crazy stuff.
That's all I got, man. That's what I think about it.
Well, Rudy, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you joining me tonight.
No problem, Pat. Man, pleasure was mine. Good questions.
All right, and we'll talk soon. Best of luck with your stuff.